Well, let's dive into your story. The thing I'm fascinated about with you is just like how much your life has changed in the last couple of years from, being a journeyman NFL guy to now the podcast and your media career is taking you to like an A-list celebrity almost,
Well, I think that's generous. I mean, maybe B minus.
B plus. B plus. But seriously, it's
just because you get noticed walking around Walmart or a gas station every now and then.
Oh, you're an A-lister now, man. In my mind,
hey, for the boys, shit, I hope nobody saw that person.
Well, since you're on the pod, I got to hype you up a little bit. We got an A-list guest. But I mean, it's changed a ton, like just from the last couple of years. Do you feel like that? Like have things changed for you when you go in public?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. People, I feel like, know me more now for Bussin With The Boys and social media and Twitter than they did during my playing career. Now, I had fun in my playing career. Like, it was awesome. Like, when I was starting and in Washington, like, that was fun. But, yeah, the vibe now is so much different because I feel like I am known more for the brand than I was the player, which is also relieving, right? Like, when you're a player and you go through injuries or your career stops, no matter when it does, no matter when your career stops, like there's a fear that comes with that of what am I going to do next? You know what I mean? And when you lose that identity, you lose that when your edge is playing sports and you no longer can play sports or you don't have that step anymore and you can kind of, people, whenever they chirp you, you can feel it a little bit more because you've lost with your own internal battles, you've lost a little bit of that and you know it. So it gets to you a little bit more. So there's like a fear that goes on when you know it's coming to an end because, I mean, it's like they made a documentary on it. 75% of guys go broke or not go broke, but go bankrupt within 3 years of playing in the NFL. And that's a real stat. Like we go around the locker room and somebody had like they had the rookie starter pack where they got jewelry and a Louis bag and Gucci slides and stuff. New car. It's probably the new Camaro or Mustang. It's like, oh, guys, what do all of us in here? There's 10 of us standing here right now. All of us have the right financial plan in place to where we're not going to be one of these 7.5 guys that go broke within 3 years of playing in the league. And so when that's coming to an end, you start to like figure out like, yo, what am I going to do? And for me, it was like, I've always been a podcast guy, always. Like I love back in the day, it was The Fighter and the Kid, Rogan, Get Rich Education. If you listen to that, I'm telling you, it's a very nerdy voice. It's brutal to listen to, the voice, but his name is Ken. He's a stud. Listen to that. Bigger Pockets is what got me into real estate. Yeah. All these different podcasts I was fascinated in, bro. And I was always one of those guys, whether I'm in a sauna, cold tub, cafeteria. Fuck, I love the cafeteria talks, bro. Yeah. Like when you're in training camp and you're just around the boys and whatever the topic is. Whether,
you never know what it's going to be.
You never know what it's going to be. Whether it's you're making fun of a coach or imitating a coach, you're just fucking grinding through the dog days. Camp eyes start to sink in a little bit when you're just around the boys too long. Like I've just always loved that stuff. And I thought it'd be cool. Like these pods that I listen to, podcasting is media in such a way that like it's not that mainstream corporate stuff that you see. I'm not saying it's all bullshit, but like you sit there and everybody's got to be professional. You got people in your ear. Hey, you got 30 seconds. You got to transition to this. Like you got all this talking. Like podcasting brings people in a fucking Airbnb just talking shop. Whatever comes out, it just comes out. It's like conversations where you're staying up late at night, whether you're banged up or you have family in town and you're just sitting around the fire. Yeah. And I was always fascinated with that. So when I got to Tennessee, and I was a backup and special teams player the entire year. I had my 5 years in Washington. Went from practice squad to role player to starter to captain to where I thought I could potentially get some money in free agency. Tear my Liz Frank in that 5th year at Washington. Yeah. So I go on IR and you kind of already know like, damn, I hope Washington retains me. It doesn't necessarily look that way. I'm going into free agency. Who knows what it's going to be like? Buffalo found some white mass in my head. So they were like, that was my first visit. And I thought I had fucking a tumor.
I read about that. Yeah.
Yeah, cancerous tumor in my head at one point. But anyway, I signed with Tennessee on a 1-year deal. And you know, when guys sign a 1-year deal, it's like, okay, I'm going to sign a 1-year deal. This is my bag year. This is my get back on track year. Yeah. Once I ball out, I'll have to compete. I'll have to earn it again. And then I can go into free agency next year. Well, draft night comes. Rashawn Evans they trade up and draft Rashawn Evans in the first round. And I'm sitting there with my boys in Germantown at a bar. It's my boy Nick and Logan. They traded up and it's like, Dun-dun-dun-dun. The Tennessee Titans select Rashawn Evans, linebacker, Alabama. And I'm fucking sitting there watching this go down in a bar. And I look over at my boys and I'm like, fuck. You know, they just kind of like look over at me like, we all know what fucking time it is. I was like, motherfucker, dude. And because you just know how it's going to go no matter what. Like somebody who gets drafted in the first round, whether they're better or not, like that's the investment they're pouring into. Yeah. If he doesn't play out well on the field, the owner's going to fire the head coach because, the GM's firing the head coach because, hey, we drafted that dude in the first round. You're making me look bad. Yeah. Before I go down, you're going down. Yeah. There's all these, political games that get played. But unfortunately, in my role, you always need somebody to get injured to get an opportunity. Yeah. And not that you wish injury upon anybody, but that's just what you need when you're in that spot that I was in. And so you're in the life of a backup, just staying ready every week in, week out, which is a grind. And when I was getting toward November, I remember sitting with my wife and I was like, I got kicked out of probably like 5 Airbnb accounts because I'm trying to DM and message with all these Airbnb owners about the game of Airbnb and real estate investing because Bigger Pockets put me on when I had torn my Liz Frank and I was at home all the time. And also had written in my journal because I just posted about it yesterday.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. 2017, right?
2017, bro. And I was journaling again about all the real estate stuff and my wife was like, why don't you do people had told me I need to do the podcast stuff. And then once I had a couple teammates that year on the Titans tell me, Derek Morgan, Kevin Byard, who else? There's somebody else. Logan Ryan. Mm-hmm. They each at different points like, yo, Comp, you should have a podcast, man. And then that was kind of the validation I needed to let's start writing stuff down and figuring this stuff out. And I'm trying to think what happens next. I'm trying not to miss this parts of the story. Because when you're about to jump into this lane, and you probably share the same stuff, anxieties and fears, there's a part of you that's so nervous because you're being vulnerable and allowing people to listen. And not only people to listen, but you're on all of these social media platforms, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of them. Trying to play the games too, like trying to figure it out. And there's this world where like everybody can watch, just like everybody can say positive comments, everybody can fucking drag you and chirp you. And it touches your identity a little bit, no matter how, no matter how comfortable you are in your own skin, you're trying to do something that that has a little fear behind it. But it's like, to me, those are the moments. That's the gray area everybody hits. Yeah. That's that fray, right? That everybody gets to. And you either continue making an intentional decision to go down that path, like that's probably less traveled, right? Just to see it all the way through. And if you fucking fail, I've been cut before. I mean, you had your knee injury. Yeah. We all had to stop playing. Like we've all dealt with failure. Yeah. Everyone has dealt with failure. Everybody can relate to failure. And it's like, you get beyond that, what's the worst thing that can happen? You fail. Yeah. And like things are forgotten about, especially in today's world, like shit's forgotten about in weeks.
Yeah. There's so much, there's so much shit out there.
Yeah. Stuff's like a fart in the wind, dude. And it's like, you know what? I had Taylor, he told me I should do it. My wife, teammates that just were like, hey, Comp, you should have a podcast. Not like knowing that I wanted to do it. And then that was all, it was like kind of the perfect storm. I was like, man, I need to jump on this because when you're in the NFL, your jokes are funnier, you're better looking, you can shake more hands, the iron is hot, bro.
You get guests.
You get guests. It just looks, it's different when you're in the league compared to when you're out of the league. It's just like the old heads who would come in and give a speech to Penn State or UMass. Yeah. And, all the boys afterwards just chirp like, bro, your time's up. Like, go do something else. And there's always that weird part of me is like, am I going to be that motherfucker that's like out there saying stuff, this and that? And dudes are going to be like, yo, you had your time. But that's how it all kind of started to like, bake.